FOMO, or the fear of missing out. It's what motivates us to buy today instead of tomorrow. And FOMO is why I'm talking about a new turntable that was this week announced by Audio-Technica, and it's called the AT-LP 2022. And it's been introduced to celebrate Audio-Technica's 60th anniversary in the hi-fi business. 60 years, was that 1962? That's a long time. And FOMO strikes again here because only 3,000 units of the AT-LP 2022 will be made. And like the NAD that we spoke about in the previous FOMO episode, each one of these turntables will be individually numbered. And also like the NAD, by the time I would get to a review of this turntable, they will probably be all sold out, which is why I'm talking about it now and not later down the line when I've got one. But I'm also talking about this turntable today because of its looks. As the famous saying goes, we eat with our eyes first. And I think the AT-LP 2022 is this year's best looking turntable, and by quite some margin. But hold that thought because we'll come back to it later. Let's break the new turntable down a bit. The first thing we should really talk about is the plinth. That's sometimes called the chassis, and it's really in place to kind of hold all the necessary components of the turntable together, but it's also there, hopefully, to stop many of the airborne vibrations or any other kinds of vibrations maybe come through the floor from reaching the tone arm and therefore reaching the cartridge and therefore reaching the phono stage, etc., etc. So the plinth or the chassis is designed to minimize vibrations. And here Audio-Technica have gone with a 3 centimeter thick slab of high density acrylic. And the platter upon which we place our record is also made of acrylic. But what isn't clear at time of taping at least is if we place our record directly onto that platter or if there's a mat that needs to go on first before we put our record on. Because a mat, especially a felt mat, will, I guess really kind of spoil the looks of this turntable. So I really don't know what Audio-Technica have up their sleeve here. On the rear underside of the plinth is a DC servo motor, which turns the flywheel, which is on the top left of the plinth, which then turns or pulls on the belt that goes around the platter. So yes, this is a belt drive turntable, and many of you familiar with Audio-Technica's more affordable options, especially the more popular ones, will know that they are direct drive. So yeah, again, just to be clear, this is a belt drive turntable, but I think it's worth pointing out that it's not whether it's belt drive or whether it's direct drive that makes the sound of a turntable, but it's the implementation of that particular topology. Now, unlike many other belt drive turntables, we don't have to lift off the platter and move the belt to a different flywheel position in order to change the speed from 33 to 45 and back again. Oh no, that's been a bit of a bugbear of mine with some other turntables. It isn't present here. What we do get in the bottom left of the plinth is a 3-position switch, which acts as a power on switch to either 33 or to 45. Now on the top right of the plinth is the metal tone arm base, which gives us tracking force adjustment, VTA adjustment. It also gives us anti-skate setting, and it handles the lift mechanism of that tone arm. The tone arm here is 9 inches long and it's made of carbon fiber. And I would assume that carbon fiber has been chosen because it's light and it's rigid. And to the business end of that tone arm, Audio-Technica have fitted one of their own AT-VM95 cartridges. Now the interesting thing about this cartridge, well, it's twofold really. Firstly, it's not an especially luxurious cartridge. It's moving magnet, but it sells for around 50 euros in its base configuration. And I say base configuration because you can buy different stylus tips for this cartridge. Now, in the box with the AT-LP 2022, the AT-VM95 is fitted with an elliptical stylus tip. But also in the box, Audio-Technica supply a second stylus tip with a Shibata profile. Now, if you were to buy this cartridge with its Shibata profile stylus tip elsewhere outside of this package, it would run you about 200 euros. And the idea is basically that changing the stylus tip changes the sound of the turntable. And I would guess that changing the stylus from the elliptical version to the ciabatta version will improve the sound quality of this table quite considerably. But I'm guessing, because I don't know, because I haven't heard this turntable, because I don't have one yet. And changing the stylus is nowhere near as complicated as changing the cartridge itself. You can just slide the old one off and slide the old one on. Super simple. Now it's crucial when setting up a turntable to make it completely level. I know those are the words of Captain Obvious, especially to turntable diehards. But you'd be amazed at the number of turntables that come to market at this kind of price point that don't have height adjustable feet. The Audio-Technica does, there's 4 of them. So for me, that's an essential when setting up a turntable, because without those height adjustable feet, you have to use coins or things like that to level it off. And I find that a little bit inconvenient, especially at this price point, because the AT-LP 2022 sells for $1,200 US, 1,200 euros, or 1,000 British pounds. Now for me, as alluded to earlier, this AT-LP 2022 is really the epitome of Future-Fi as much as it can relate to turntables. Or at least it's closer to something like the Rager Planar 8 or 10, but those are much more expensive tables. But in me saying that I think that this is 2022's best looking turntable, I know I'm going to meet some resistance in the comments below, because I've already polled you people over on the community page asking you basically which one of 4 different turntables you find the most visually pleasing. And in that poll, I put the Audio-Technica, obviously, I put a Rager Planar 8, and then I chose 2 more fairly traditional turntables, a Project X2, and then also a Thorens TD1500, or Thorens if you're in the USA. Germans say Thorens. And the poll results came back, and I've got them here on my iPad, and I gotta say I was a little bit surprised, because the Audio-Technica, the new one, came in last with 11% of votes. And 11,000 people voted on this poll. That's a whopping number of people, especially in the hi-fi world. In second place came the Rager Planar 8 with 21%. And then just ahead of that, with 23% of the votes, was the Thorens TD1500. But the clear winner here was the Project X2 in its walnut finish. And that got 45% of the votes. So to me, it's pretty clear that most of you people out there voting in this poll prefer a more traditional looking turntable, and will probably turn your noses up at the Audio-Technica being announced and released for their 60th anniversary. Good, because that leaves more of them for the rest of us, because only 3,000 are being made. And I want to try and buy one, and I've got to find one. I believe the AT-LP 2022 is already available for sale on Audio-Technica's US website. But you can't buy it on their German website. It just says, contact your local dealer. So I'm going to have to do that. I don't even know who that is in Berlin. So I'm going to have to do some legwork here. I'm going to have to make some effort to get one of these, because I really, really want to get one. Basically, because I love the look of it, right? This video is really about the looks of hi-fi, or the appearance of hi-fi gear, because I think that's a primary motivator in what we choose to buy and what we choose to use and what we have on display in our lounge rooms, right? It's not like a turntable can be tucked away. It's a visual focus when we're playing records. So I'm making this video also as practice for filming myself, but also as another sort of video about FOMO, the fear of missing out, because by the time I get to make a video review about this turntable, it will likely already be sold out around the world. So I'm letting you know now ahead of that review, because it probably won't come for another 2 or 3 months maybe. Could be a while. So I hope you appreciate that. I hope you found this video in some way entertaining or useful. Don't forget, a lot of what I do is based around entertainment as well as being information driven. And if you can live with that, and if you like that, then please consider giving us a like down below. If you like my attitude to FOMO, then please consider subscribing to this channel. And as always, thank you ever so much for watching.